Throughout this entire election, the media has been calling Donald Trump a bully. But what if we've been wrong all along?
Oh, goodness, finally. We're going to have somebody talk to us about how Trump is a sane person, not so crazy as we thought he was. That him talking about, going up to women and kissing them and, without permission and grabbing their hoo-ha is not actually sexual assault because he never admitted to doing that. Even if it is surprisingly coming from Liz Plank, the pink text lady.
Listen up, ladies. What would you say if I said that you were being screwed out of $100,000? That's real money. Cold, hard cash. And no, I'm not talking about the pay gap. I'm talking about the money that you lose by shopping in the women's aisle.
Yep, that lady. You remember her, don't you? Well, if you don't, just look for it. She's been roundly debunked on that one. But don't take my word for it. Just do a search. Trust me, you'll find it. But anyway, like I said, this doesn't have to be wrong. What we're about to see from Liz this time, right? I mean, she could be, speaking, unemotionally and talking about, look, Trump said some things on the bus. He didn't actually admit to committing anything. So who knows? Well, let's have a look here.
When you take a closer look, Donald Trump doesn't talk or act like a bully. As my colleague Emily Crockett recognized early in this campaign, he actually talks and acts more like an emotionally abusive partner.
Oh, well, that kind of went in the opposite direction that I was expecting. Okay, Liz, make your case.
And his abusive behavior doesn't just pop up at times. It's at the core of the way that he communicates. So let's ignore every single thing that he said in the past and just look at his behavior at the second presidential debate. Throughout the evening, Trump exhibited a number of characteristics that we would associate with an abusive person. His first textbook abusive move was an attempt at humiliation. Trump did this in the minutes before the debate when he held a press conference with women who have accused Hillary Clinton's husband of rape. And Trump did not do this because he cares about advocating for these women.
Well, Liz, the first problem that you have is that you first have to believe that the Clintons have any humility to begin with. And I don't think you know them well enough to know whether or not these people have humility. They don't strike me as very humble people at all. And you can tell that, at least with Hillary, in one particular case. And that would be her comment on half of Trump's supporters being put into a basket of deplorables. Now, I understand she walked that back later, but that just doesn't seem the actions or the words of somebody who is particularly humble or has a gratuitous amount of humility. I don't believe she does, and you don't know that she does. And I wouldn't necessarily call Hillary an advocate of women, especially when she says things like this.
I want to send a message to every survivor of sexual assault. Don't let anyone silence your voice. You have a right to be heard, and you have a right to be believed. We're with you.
Right. So that's what she says out of one side of her ass, but then through the other side of her ass, goes through and not only attempts to silence, but also goes so far as to intimidate Bill Clinton's accusers. Again, well, I mean, I may be a conspiracy theorist on this, but there is enough information out there where these women have said that Hillary has gone so far as to use intimidation tactics as to keep them silent. Now, if the woman believes, or says anyway, that women should be heard, listened to, and believed, why the hell didn't she do that for these women? Because they were, accusing her husband? Well, that's fine. You can defend your husband, but you don't go through the means of intimidating his accusers. I don't give a shit who you are, especially if you're Hillary Clinton.
He's actually insulted them in the past.
Paula Jones is a loser.
Well, I guess Donald Trump's not allowed to have a change of heart, is he? Once he says it, that must be what it is. You know what? Robert De Niro recently said some very unfavorable things about Donald Trump in light of the audio tape that came out recently. Yet, when the Bill Clinton scandals were coming down, well, specifically Monica Lewinsky, well, he said, well, I understand Bill Clinton. It's okay. Yeah, I know that was a case of two consenting adults. But, it is possible that Trump did have a change of heart. I would agree with you that it's very unlikely that he did, and he did use this for political purposes. But you know what? These accusers were consenting adults at that debate, consenting into appearing at that debate, and sitting out in the audience. So what? Let me guess, they're women, so they're still not responsible for themselves. Is this what your argument would be, Liz?
Another abusive characteristic is the practice of deflection. That's projecting one's own unacceptable toxic behavior onto someone else.
This question involves WikiLeaks' release of purported excerpts of Secretary Clinton's paid speeches, which she has refused to release, and one line in particular in which you, Secretary Clinton...
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this supposed to be about Trump and not Clinton? My bad.
...purportedly say you need both a public and private position on certain issues. So, 2 from Virginia asks, is it okay for politicians to be two-faced? Is it acceptable for a politician to have a private stance on issues? Secretary Clinton, well, your 2 minutes.
Right. As I recall, that was something I said about Abraham Lincoln after having seen the wonderful Steven Spielberg movie called Lincoln. It was a master class watching President Lincoln get the Congress to approve the 13th Amendment. It was principled and it was strategic. And I was making the point that it is hard sometimes to get the Congress to do what you want to do, and you have to keep working at it. And yes, President Lincoln was trying to convince some people. He used some arguments. Convincing other people, he used other arguments. That was a great, I thought, a great display of presidential leadership.
Does anyone else guess who flung the poo at this point? Oh my gosh. You could smell the bullshit just coming out of her mouth like so much vomit. Holy crap, that explains the fly from earlier.
Leadership. But, let's talk about what's really going on here, Martha.
Wait a minute, Hillary. I thought what was going on is that you were being asked about your Wall Street speeches and having a public and a private policy.
Because
are you about to deflect?
Because our intelligence community just came out and said in the last few days that the Kremlin, meaning Putin and the Russian government, are directing the attacks, the hacking on American accounts to influence our election.
So what's happened here is that Hillary doesn't want to talk anymore about having a public and private policy. She wants to deflect, there it is, Liz. She wants to deflect the question into the fact that she got caught saying these things due to the hacking. Granted, the hacking is illegal, but she's less upset about the fact that there are people hacking so much as that they're hacking her and exposing her for what she is. You see, Liz, that's a deflection. And although you can accuse Trump of it, Hillary's just as guilty of it. But let me guess, Liz, it's okay when Hillary or your candidate, the person you want to vote for, deflects, but it's not okay when Trump does it, because you have an agenda to meet, which is to somehow Psych 101 Donald Trump.
And Trump did this right out of the gate when he was asked about the now infamous leaked tape of him bragging about sexual assault.
You brag that you have sexually assaulted women. Do you understand that?
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Well, Liz, both you and Anderson Pooper got it all wrong. He didn't admit to assaulting women in the video. Okay? It was a bunk question to begin with. He said, as a person of wealth or a rock star, You can do those things. He never said, I did those things. He was talking a role, Liz. He never admitted to sexually assaulting anyone. And something else you little twats need to understand, Liz Stank. Yes, I've changed your name to Liz Stank, like I did Anderson Pooper. Is there unsolicited does not mean unwanted. Okay? You know, when you're in a relationship with somebody for a while, those kind of things, you know, the consent is implied. And even then, you don't know what kind of relationship Trump had with any of these women that he just started kissing without consent. They may have wanted that, even though he didn't strictly get their consent. Again, unsolicited does not equal unwanted.
Trump minimized his behavior, another thing that abusers do,
Oops, I just minimized what Trump said. I guess that makes me an abuser now, too.
and called it locker room banter.
Certainly, I'm not proud of it, but this is locker room talk.
And then he proceeded to ramble about ISIS.
Okay, so he deflected. You know, I saw that debate. Ah, shit's sake. Sorry about that. I saw the debate. And he answered the question that he asked him, and he denied ever being a sexual assaulter. And then he did talk about ISIS. It wasn't rambling per se, at least in my view. What that told me was that, yes, he was deflecting because you know what? He doesn't want to talk about that shit anymore. He apologized for it. He's trying to move on. Obviously, the public won't let him move on, and they don't have to. That's okay. He said it. He was dumb. There you have it. But he wanted to talk about something more important. So, deflection. Yeah, succeeded too. At least it wasn't like the deflection that Hillary gave us in that debate, where it was more about, oh, I got caught, but it's Russia's fault that I got caught. I mean, I'd rather take that deflection over Hillary's deflection, let me tell you. Damn it.
You know, when we have a world where you have ISIS chopping off heads.
But perhaps most shockingly, Trump actually used threats and intimidation at the debate, like an abuser trying to exert power and control over their victim. And how did he do that? How about threatening to put Hillary Clinton in jail?
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
That was a threat, Liz? Oh, oh man. Yeah, that was a jab, Liz. That was a jab. Here, Liz, let me frame it in a way that you might better understand exactly what happened.
Because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Turn down for what?
I don't suspect, Liz, that it's really going to help out much. But hopefully it does. Again, what happened was that he burned her. He roasted her. He took a jab at her. It wasn't a threat, Liz, because guess what? He can't do anything to her right now. Now, maybe he can do something to her when he's a president, like, I don't know, have the Department of Justice actually investigate her properly. Who knows? We'll see.
Some critics have pointed out that this is Putin-esque, but if you look at it through any other lens, it's just straight up abuse.
And what lens is that, Liz? The shit-colored lens that you saw the debate with? You know, Liz, if you weren't so busy trying to find something to whinge about and actually thought through a logical process, you probably would not see it so much as abuse. But again, since you do look through the shit-colored lens that you look at, and I don't agree with you, I guess that makes me an abuser excuser. And you know, and that's why I'm voting for Trump, right? Gosh, Liz. Oh gosh, you need help, woman.
And most unnerving, to me at least, was the fact that Donald Trump spent a good portion of the debate standing right behind Hillary Clinton in a way that almost made me feel unsafe for her.
What, Liz? You didn't think all the security and Secret Service in attendance would be able to keep Hillary safe from Trump? You didn't feel, you felt it was unsafe for her? Well, and that's what it really comes down to, huh, Liz? It's all about how you feel, right? Not about what actually is. Oh my gosh. And I thought, no, folks, what else can be said? It's about Liz Stank's poop-colored lens. It's about how she feels. It's about her armchair psychobabble. And if you go and look at her website, she has a master's degree in gender studies and policy. She is not a practicing psychologist, folks. Wow. But I guess all you have to do is apply a few psychology terms, and you can play one on TV or YouTube for that matter. Well, folks, that's pretty much going to do it for me today. I mean, she goes on about gaslighting, but who gives a shit? Anyway, folks, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe, and now you know who flung the poo. One Elizabeth Pink Tax Stank. Have a good one, y'all.
By the way, these teleprompters haven't been working for the last 20 minutes. And I actually like my speech better without teleprompters. And this way, what I like about it, wait a minute, let me see how these things.